Most of the time when you cook potatoes in the oven, you use a big baking potato and you call it baking. Today I'm going to use a red potato and I'm going to call it roasting, and I'm going to mix some other ingredients in with it to give it a little bit of a different punch. As I said, we're using red potatoes. Now you can use small red potatoes. New potatoes is what we often think of when we talk about red potatoes. New potatoes are simply the same kind of potato, but they're harvested before they're quite mature. And if you have those, you'll need about 12 of them. I've got potatoes that are more this size, and the baking time on that would be substantially longer. So what I've done is cut them into quarters. If they're even bigger, you might need to cut them even smaller. But we want them to be finished roasting in about an hour's time. So enough to give a half a cup of potato to each person. So I usually actually start with about 6 here. Now I'm going to put a lot of garlic in here because that's what's going to give it some difference. And if we're going to cook 12 potatoes, you're going to put in a clove of garlic for each potato. So I'm starting with about 12, and just scatter them around in here. Some of them are really big and are going to give a really nice flavor. Remember, the garlic is going to soften its texture as well as its flavor and actually become a little bit sweeter as it roasts. Over the top of that, we're going to put 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil and just drizzle that over the top. Again, this is a situation where because you have something that's got a lot of flavor to it in the garlic, you can use an olive oil that gives a lot of flavor as well. So you don't need to look for one that's got all the flavor removed. Look for one that's got a lot of punch to it. Now over top of this, I'm going to sprinkle 2 tablespoons of fresh thyme. And if you don't have fresh, if the season has moved on, you can use 1 tablespoon of dried. This is simply going to go in the oven at 375 for about 1 hour. After an hour, you can see what you get. The potatoes are just gorgeous. The garlic has softened up and is beautifully roasted. We're going to put a couple of these on a tray or on a plate as a serving would be. And make sure that you also get everybody at least one of these nice big pieces of garlic, because that's what's really going to make this dish spectacular. Potatoes don't have to be boring. They can be a major focus in your meal, and this is an example of how to get them to become just that, no matter what the season. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.